that not everything is text, right? Something might have metadata, something is certainly going to have a file name and hopefully an extension, but not everything is going to have text that you can actually index and search on, right? So, and here's some examples. You can have an image-only PDF file. Sure, most of us in this room, if not all of us, have created a PDF as a result of creating a document in Microsoft Word and saving it to a PDF. There are settings in that process. By default, the PDF will result in embedded text. The text, you can highlight it, select it, copy it, paste it. You can recreate that document by just copying and pasting somewhere else. But there are some attempts with PDFs to petrify a document, if you will, right? So the PDF is just intends to take a snapshot of the picture of that document or create electronic paper, if you will, okay? And that electronic paper is not necessarily searchable. You'll be able to read everything on that page, everything on that document, but you won't be able to highlight, copy, or paste any of it, right? That will require further processing as OCR, or optical character recognition. Okay. Another electronic paper format that we commonly encounter are TIFF files. The extension is .tif. It's very common to anybody who uses a Windows computer. You've probably seen that little icon. It is another way of capturing paper. Very often documents are scanned, they become, when they go into a structured database, they become TIFFs. Very often PDFs, when documents are being just exchanged between colleagues or communicated via email, very often you'll see PDF. So keep in mind that just because something is an electronic file doesn't mean the content of that file is necessarily searchable. And the bottom half of the slide attempts to illustrate this issue in another way. Okay? The item on the left is clearly a graphic displaying two green apples. Right? I don't know what the name of that file is. Maybe the file is called twogreenapples.jpg. Maybe it's just called logo. And this would require some additional analysis and investigation. In some ways, you can't bypass the step-bys. But the document on the right clearly says two green apples on the face of the document, and it's electronic. I should be able to search it. Maybe I can't. Maybe it's a result of a scan. Okay? So maybe if I use an indexing approach, I'll get a hit for two green apples in the document on the right because the text is available, and I can highlight it and I can find it. But maybe what I'm looking for is anything related to two green apples. Maybe the green apples are a logo of some corporation that I was ripping off. Okay? And I'm not going to probably call it two green apples. So maybe if logos are of particular interest, you're going to want to look for file types that could be logos, not just keywords of things that would represent exactly what you're looking for. So this is kind of cycling back on the idea that not everything is necessarily searchable. You have to consider what it is that you're looking for and the different ways that people might create that information, and just have that in mind as you're going through the data set. Okay. Another challenge that we face in dealing with unstructured data search is actually, believe it or not, structured data. Right? Businesses create proprietary database and applications to help them drive business, help them to create revenue, and to organize themselves in an interesting way. Okay? One of the best examples are accounting systems. Okay? In lots of these investigations, people want to see information from accounting systems. What do you do when someone wants to see QuickBooks for 3 years? QuickBooks is not necessarily something that boils down to a neatly enveloped document that someone could just review. In some instances, you'll want to push that out and create the reports out of the accounting application or whatever the proprietary database is. But in some instances, we've had issues where maybe they're running a version that no longer exists and the litigation reaches back 2 or 3 years to a previous version that's no longer live. There needs to be some understanding with regard to that, and you have to cite other sources and possibly find the data in other ways. So you have some options. If you can convert it, we attempt to convert it. But most often, we typically just export the data or ask the client to export the data in a way that we can document that will be able to provide their opposition of the investigating body with access to that information in an easy way. We'll try to manipulate that exported information so we maintain cross-reference to the original data. Okay? But in some instances, we've had people say, sure, come into our office, look at this database that we have. We'll show you how it works. We'll let you look at the information in the database itself, in the application itself. We have nothing to hide, we have nothing to fear. Just come, take a look at it. And we do see that from time to time. I didn't mention issues with versions. big one is QuickBooks, right? You can't really buy an older version. You got to try to find it somewhere, and the newer versions can see the older versions, but they may be highly enterprise model. So just be wary of accounting systems and proprietary databases. Now, we touched a little bit about this just before. Very often we come across archive data. What do? It's not immediately available. I worked at a data center 10 years ago that looked a lot like the gentleman on the right, with all the data tapes in the raised floor and at 65 degrees. Right? Those data tapes probably don't store any more than 100 megabytes of data, but there are many of them. Today, the amount of data that's available in enterprise is enormous. So backup needs are growing. How do we make sure that we get access to all the data that's potentially responsive to the question that we're trying to answer? Okay. Can we index some of it using specific technology to do that? And I'll talk about that on the next slide. What's nearline? What does the client define as nearline? What does their IT define as a nearline? Have there been changes in IT systems? Who knows about those changes? Is anything offline, off-site even? Okay, what are the legacy applications that have been used to back things up or archive them? And then there are things like enterprise archive apps, like Symantec's Enterprise Vault. That's the logo of the bottom line. That helps a lot with email archiving and tries to answer this question from an enterprise level, specifically for email, as far as litigation readiness and discoverability. Then you just have the average day-to-day archive. Okay? In our office, we use WinRAR. It tends to be more stable with larger data sizes. Put a password on it. And not everybody really is in the know, at least in the common user world of RAR files. But it's just like a zip. There are lots of others, especially if you start getting into the Mac world or even the Linux world, something you might be familiar with. They're just archives that people create on their own just to save space, so they want to protect something. They're not going to need it for a while. They just zip it up and put it somewhere. So you need to keep that in mind and make sure that your approach, searching for that information, gathering that information, takes into account that some things might be embedded within container files like archives. I touched on backups. There's a specific technology that exists that will deal with data tapes in an interesting way. This particular software is called Index Engines. You can find more information about this product on their website. And again, we try to be somewhat software agnostic, but they're kind of one of the most well-known as it pertains to searching through and dealing with backup tapes and legacy data archives. A big point in going after legacy data or backup data can be very time-consuming because of the versioning issues that I mentioned, and it's really not the low-hanging fruit. It's not something that we typically go after unless the issue really demands it and the timeline allows for it. Okay, so there's definitely a time-cost issue with regards to going back to backup tapes.
Yeah, who are you working for?
I'm with Smart Data Consulting.
No. When you're on an engagement,
Oh, okay.
are you working for the defendant?
All right, I
for
understand.
the
The
plaintiff?
question is,
The courts?
who do we do this for? Who do we provide these services to? We typically provide these services to counsel who's acting on behalf of a corporation that's involved in some litigation, or we often provide these services to people who are being investigated by the SEC or the DOJ, who need to provide, in conjunction with their counsel, documents, data about what it is that's been happening in their business with regard to a particular issue. The biggest thing that we've been working on of late, the trend in the last few years, is SEC investigations, or even FTC investigations. Next question.
But in that case, you're working for the defendant or the examinee.
Correct. Correct. Yeah, I hope that's clear. I mean, yes?
To clarify the last question, that doesn't mean the defendant, because in a civil case, both sides are discovering on both. You can be suing somebody for a defective component and charge that he manufactured using substandard components.
Or IP.
Yeah.
Yeah, the point is, we typically provide these services to law firms or corporations who need to obtain counsel for any legal issue, whether it's an investigation or some intellectual property issue or any two organizations that are at odds with one another about a potential topic, right? And what we do here is try to use technology and consulting and expertise to answer the question of how do we get to the documents and data that's critical to that issue, and hopefully resolve that issue.